get started. So, welcome everyone. This is Dan from Dan's Test Prep, and today we're going to be doing Tutor Tuesday. So, we go over SAT, ACT, math, and other type questions. Whatever you guys want to submit, let me know. We're taking the PSAT next year. Can I go over how the test works first? Yeah. So, SAT is actually a little bit different now because all of the SATs and PSATs are going fully digital. So first you take the test or you sign up for the test and you bring your laptop or tablet or maybe even a school issued Chromebook, and you have all the questions downloaded prior to test day. So when you walk in, you just have to get checked in, and once the proctor says you can start, then you go ahead and start. It's 2 modules. Actually, let me paste in something that I made for the digital SAT. It has all the test dates and stuff. There's 2 modules. You have a base module of reading and writing, and depending on how you do on that one, you could either get a harder module or an easier module for your second module. Then it goes back to math. So math resets the difficulty. It's like a medium difficulty module, and if you do really well, you'll get a second module that has a lot of harder questions or an easier module that has easier questions. Yeah, it's a stage by stage or step by step adaptive test, multi-stage adaptive test. So not question by question, but more like section by section. It adapts to your skill level. That just makes it so that you can get an accurate score with fewer. You don't need to answer as many questions. If you get all the questions wrong on like the first part, and then you get a lot or all of them right on the second part, your score will still be kind of capped at like a 600 or something like that, because you got routed into the easier module. So you really want to try to do as best as you can and get the harder module, because even if you mess up a lot on the harder module, it's still better than getting the first easy module. Yeah, no problem. Do you guys have any question topics, suggestions that you want to go over? I'm looking through my collection of questions. I'm just going to pull out some random ones to start. Welcome, welcome. So our first question here tells us we have a system of equations. A and C are constants. And we have, if the system of equations has infinite number of solutions, what's the value of A? So, value of A. I know for infinite number of solutions, the slopes of the equations have to be the same, and the intercepts have to be different. So, for something like this one, what I could do is I could divide everything by 3 on the bottom equation here, and I'll get so on the top equation I have 1/2 x, 1/3 y equals 1/6. On the bottom equation I have a over 3 x plus 1 over 3 y is equal to c over 3. And now you can see if I want to make the slopes match, well, I don't even have to get into y equals mx plus b form because I have this coefficient matching, so I just need the x coefficients to match as well. So I could do something like a over 3 is equal to 1/2. That gives us a is equal to 3 over 2. That's going to be answer choice D. Yeah, I see you guys got it in the chat already. do another one here. This one tells us the solution to a given system of equations is x comma y. What's the value of x minus y? We could solve this in many different ways. Of course, if you're on a digital SAT, you can use Desmos. It's built into the test. If we want to do it by hand, we could still plug in some things. Like, for example, I know here y is equal to 4x plus 1, so I could substitute that into the bottom equation. And I could get 4 times 4x plus 1, which was just the value of y, if you recall. 4 times 4x plus 1 is equal to 15x minus 8. So we just need to simplify that out, and everything will become 16x plus 4 is equal to 15x minus 8. You could subtract 15x and subtract 4 from both sides to get something like x is equal to negative 12. And then we know that y is equal to 4x plus 1, so that we can get y is equal to 4 times negative 12 plus 1 is negative 47. And then to get x minus y is just going to be equal to negative 12 minus negative 47, which means negative 12 plus 47. And so x minus y is going to simplify to 35. That's an open-ended question, so you'd have to grid that one in. Okay, I see some questions, submissions here. So I'm gonna go and do this reading question. I always like to skip these and go read straight down here. It says, based on the text, how does the Lord Chancellor respond to the crowd? So that's what I'm going to focus on as I read this. It also tells me that this text is adapted from Lewis Carroll's 1889 satirical novel, Sylvie and Bruno. A crowd has gathered outside a room belonging to the warden, an official who reports to the Lord Chancellor. One man who was more excited than the rest flung his hat high into the air and shouted, as well as I could make out, "Who roar for the sub-warden?" Everybody roared, but whether it was for the sub-warden or not did not clearly appear. So things are kind of unclear. Some were shouting bread, some were shouting taxes, but no one seemed to know what it was they really wanted. No one seemed to know. So there's a lot of confusion, it seems like. All this I saw from the open window of the warden's breakfast saloon, looking across the shoulder of the Lord Chancellor. What can it all mean? He kept repeating to himself. I never heard such shouting before, and at this time of the morning too, and with such unanimity. So he's questioning, like, what are they shouting about? And he's saying, like, they're all so unanimous in their shouting. They're all kind of together. They want the same thing. But here we see a contrast with that because, of course, we saw confusion. We didn't know what everybody was shouting about. So there's a difference in what the warden sees versus what's actually happening. So A says he asks about the meaning of the crowd's shouting, even though he claims to know what the crowd wants. This first part is correct, but he doesn't claim to know what they want. B, he indicates a desire to speak to the crowd. I don't see that desire to speak to the crowd. He expresses sympathy for the crowd's demands, even though the crowd's shouting annoys him. I don't see anything that says it annoys him or sympathy. He describes the crowd as being united, so yeah, that's unanimity, even though the crowd clearly appears otherwise. Well, yeah. So D is the best choice here. It describes what happens here the best. I'm going to put in one more systems of equations question, and feel free to submit more questions while I go through these. And after this one, we can move to another topic. But this one asks for the value of 3x plus 3y, and there's a very quick way to solve this, right? Because they're asking for this very specific value. It's not just x or y. And you'll notice if you take 7x minus 5y equals 4, and you subtract off the other system of the other equation, the negative 4x minus 8y equals 9, what will happen is 7x minus 4x gives you 3x, negative 5y minus negative 8y gives you plus 3y, and 4 minus 9 gives you negative 5. So pretty much right away, without even solving for x or y individually, we get that this one equals negative 5. So look for quick ways to combine equations. Alright, what is this? Order of operations? Nah. Come on. Let's do something harder. And let's react if you want the order of operations question. But I like this one. If we get more than one reaction on the order of operations question, I'll do it. But this looks like a nice SAT style question. It says the number A is 70% less than the positive number B. So I would write that as A is equal to 0.30 B. A is only 30% of B, or it's 70% less than what B is. The number C is 80% greater than A. So it's the same as A, but on top of that, 80% greater. So I would multiply A by 1.80. The trick here that I'm using is 70% less means 100% minus 70%. 80% greater means 100% plus 80%. So that's where I get those decimals from. The number C is how many times B. So I just need to find a way to combine C and B. And I can do that by just substituting C is equal to 1.80A, but A can be written as 0.30B. So whatever 1.80 times 0.30 is, that tells us C is equal to 0.54B. C is how many times B? C is 0.54 times B. So I would grade in 0.54 as our final answer. Alright, I'm going to paste in this question that I see in chat. That looks like a ACT style question. So let's try it out. If you multiply two integers together, let's call them like x times y, and then add 4, the result is 40. Which of the following could not be the sum of the two numbers? Right away, I notice that if I subtract 4 from both sides, I'm able to get this in the form x times y is equal to 36. And this question, at this point, the question becomes synonymous with finding the factors of 36. Two numbers that multiply to 36 is the factors of 36. The factors of 36 could be 1 and 36. That's one possibility. We could have 2 and 18. We could have 3 and 12. We could have
4, and 9. Let me label it a little bit better. So there's the factors on this side, and then let's do the sum over here. And then there's also 6 and 6. I think I got all of them. Oops. So the sum here is 37. The sum here is 20. The sum here is 15, 13, and 12. So I see it can be 12. It can be 13. It can be 15. It can be 20. So we're left with J. It cannot be 18. These it can be. The only possibility here is it cannot be 18. The sum could not be 18. That's why the ACT math section is kind of fun. Or maybe I've just done too many SAT math problems. Yeah, this is definitely more like ACT. I'm gonna put in another question here. Percentage question. It says 210 is p% greater than 30. What is the value of p? The way I would start to do this, yeah, you could put answer in chat. I see an answer already. I see a correct answer. 210 is p% greater than 30. What's the value of p? Well, let's break this down. 210 divided by 30 gives us 7. So 210 is 7 times 30. Meaning we take 100% of 30, then 6 more copies of 30. This is how I think about it. So we take 100%, it's 100% plus 600% of 30. And it's specifically saying p% greater than. So p% greater than means we're looking specifically at the part that we're adding on to the original number. Greater than equals adding on to original. So not only is it like starting out at 30, we are going 600% more. We are multiplying, we're on top of 30, we're adding 6 times 30. So that makes p equals to 600. Yeah, I was thinking this software, I mean, this dark background kind of looks like Khan Academy, but no, I don't. Actually, I do have their same software. I just don't use it. I like the online whiteboard. It's easier to share. I see a couple questions in the chat here, so let me put this one here. And I see another one here. I'm assuming these are squared, like a minus 5b squared. And I'm assuming this is a squared plus, or a squared minus 25b squared. A squared minus 10ab plus 25b squared. A squared minus 12ab plus 25b squared. I mean, this is fairly straightforward. It's just some FOIL method, distributive property. multiplying two binomials. Like if I expanded this out, what we're going to get is a minus 5b times a minus 5b. And when you FOIL that out, you're going to multiply the first terms, so a times a, the outer terms to get minus 5ab. Then we're going to multiply the inner terms, so another minus 5ab. And then the last term, so plus 25b squared. That simplifies to a squared minus 10ab plus 25b squared. That's going to be answer choice C. Okay, I see more questions in the chat. This one, I'm not sure where you got this one, Eclipse, but this one is like a actual SAT question, because I've done that one before. Let's do this percentage-based question. I'm on that, what's 10% of 20% of 30%? Whenever I see of, I think of multiplying. And I like to convert my percents into decimals, so 10% is equal to 0.10. So you could say this is kind of like 0.10 times 0.20 times 0.30, whatever that is. So times 0.30, I'm getting 0.006. So 0.006, that's the decimal equivalent. And then to convert this decimal back into a percentage, I'm going to multiply by 100. So times 100% equals 0.6%. So I'm getting answer choice B. Let's do the quadratic function projectile height. Is this y equals negative 16t plus vt plus s? Yeah, I was thinking you could model this using like some physics formulas, but actually, if you read in really closely to how they word this, they say there's a quadratic function that models the projectile's height in meters above the ground in terms of the time in seconds after it was launched. The model estimates the projectile was launched from an initial height of 7 meters, 7, and reaches a maximum height of 51.1 meters about 3 seconds after it was launched. How many seconds after the launch does the model estimate the projectile will return to a height of 7 meters? So it's asking basically for when do we reach this point again. We'll go on for like 15 more minutes probably, or 20 more minutes. You can see that the parabola actually is symmetrical around the vertex, around that highest point. So the time it takes to reach from 7 meters to the peak is the same time that it'll take to get from the peak down back to 7 meters. So it's going to be another 3 seconds, and in total it's going to be 6 seconds. Alright, see you later. Yeah, it's going to be symmetry. You could try to make the physics model for this, but it's a lot easier to just use the symmetry properties of a parabola. All right, what other questions or topics have we got? We're doing we're doing a mix, so it's ACT and ACT, ACT and SAT. I think your question is here. While you format that, there's some answers missing. I'm gonna put in another percentage question. So it says 37% of items in a box are green. Of those, 37% are also rectangular. Of the green rectangular items, 42% are also metal. Which of the following is closest to the percentage of items in the box that are not rectangular green metal items? Well, rectangular, rectangular, metal, green items. That's going to be the 0.37 times 0.37 times 0.42. So what does that equal to? That's about 5.75%. So if we want to find not, we would just do 100% minus 5.75%. And that's 94.25%. That's going to be answer choice C. Okay, more questions in a chat. Let me put in this value of k. We're looking for the value of k. So in the equation a and b are positive constants. The sum of the solutions to the given equation is k times a plus b, where k is a constant. What is the value of k? One thing I know, or one shortcut I know, is that the sum of solutions, these I might cut out there, but the sum of the solutions is negative b over a. So that would be negative of negative 16a. Here, since it's a double negative, we'll just make it positive. So 16a plus 4b over 64. And that's equal to this k times 4a plus b. I might be able to get the 4a plus b to pop up over here. So let's see if I can. This can be further simplified as 4 times 4a plus b over 64. And that's equals to k 4a plus b. So I'm getting closer. Well, actually, it shows me that k just needs to equal 4 over 64, right? Because that's the only thing different about these two sides of the equation. So k equals 4 over 64. That's also equivalent to 1/16. And if you wanted to, you could write that as a decimal 0.0625. Okay, I'll keep putting in more questions. We got space for a few more. What percent of 5/8 is 1/8? I like to rewrite that as 1/8 is, let's say, like X percent of 5/8. Or you could then rewrite that as an equation like 1/8 equals to 5/8 x, and see what does x need to be equal to make this equation true. If you solve it out, then you're going to get x is equal to 1/5, which is 0.20. So that becomes 20%. And that should make sense, right? If we think about 1/8, 1/8 is just 1/5 of the size of 5/8. So it's 20% of that size. Okay, another. Okay, so this one looks like an exponential equation. This next one. The function f gives the value in dollars of a certain piece of equipment after x months of use. If the value of the equipment decreases each year by p% of its value the preceding year, what is the value of p? Show it again. Yeah, I'll show the previous question. Yeah, so I see an answer in chat. The equipment decreases each year by p%. If I look at the growth rate, that's 0.64, so don't be tempted to put 64, but this is actually representing 100% minus 36%. So like every year we could have stayed the same, but instead we chose to lose. We lost 36% every year, and that's going to give us answer choice C. Let's see. Okay, I have space for one more question, but I'm going to try to fit both of these. What's 1 plus 1? We'll come back to this one later, I guess. Uh, let's do this next one. In her Algebra 2 class, Mrs. PEMDAS writes the following statement on a board. A varies inversely as the product of B and C, and directly as D. K, D. She then asked her students to translate the statement into an equation. Which of the following equations with K as a constant of proportionality is a correct translation of Mrs. PEMDAS' statement? I would write A varies inversely as a product of B and C as A equals BC, and then proportionally as A equals KD. So if I had to put those two together, I'd get BC is equal to KD. Oh, it wants it in terms of A. Okay. Oh, sorry, I missed these exponents. As a product of B squared and C, and directly as D cubed. So, which of the following? Okay. So which of the following shows inversely as a product of B squared and C? I'm missing something here. Because how I want to get one equation in terms of A. So maybe I'm missing a constant of proportionality here. So if A varies inversely, then it would be like 1 over b squared c. But of course I need the k here. A equals a k over b squared c. So basically I want these two to be true at the same time, right? Or maybe it's 1 over like this. What I'm seeing here is that if I want it to vary directly with d cubed, but inversely with the product of b squared and c, then inverse means it goes in the denominator and direct means it goes in the numerator. And then we have the constant of proportionality multiplying everything. So it should match up with answer choice A here. And 1 plus 1, we'll mark down 2 for this one for now. Okay. Okay, so I'm basically out of space here, but let's do this last question here. It says, Tamika has a hard rubber ball whose circumference measures 13 inches. She wants to box it for a gift, but can only find cube-shaped boxes of size 3, 4, 5, or 6 inches. What's the smallest box that the box will fit into with the top on? Well, if it's a box, if it's like a square box, then we just need to make sure that the radius of the ball fits within the box. We also know that circumference is equal to 2 pi r, and if the circumference is 13, then it tells us as r is equal to 13 over 2 pi, 2.07, let's round it to. So if you used a box that was 4 inches, the diameter here would be 4.14. It would exceed it. So really we want the 5-inch box. Box equals 5-inch sides. Because the diameter slightly exceeds 4, so we can't use the 4. We have to go higher. Anyways, we really filled up the boards. Make sure you guys bring your questions to next Tutor Tuesday. But I'll stop it off here. And don't forget to check out my Explore page, where I have my newsletter and my YouTube, and I'll post this recording on there as well. Alright. I'll see you guys next week.